Matthew gives us a wonderful story about wise men. And Deacon Bailey, it does not say the 3 wise men. Need to debunk some of these Christmas myths. No, it says wise. It doesn't call them kings. They're wise men. They were philosophers and astronomers who engaged in astrology from the Far East, and they could read the stars in the heaven and get a sense of what's happening on earth. And these men came from the east and showed up at a house where Joseph, Mary, and the Christ child were residing. Jesus at this time is about 2 years old. And these men, they were not kings, but they were wise men. They were priests, probably from Persia. They played religious significance in their community, and they were big shots where they lived. But through their discernment, they saw something in the night that caused them to pursue a star. And apparently they had read or were exposed to the Holy Scriptures, and when they saw the star, they started chasing where the star was. Now, what gets me is in the text that these Gentiles, these so-called pagans, these non-Jews came to worship Jesus, and the ones that should have been expecting him disregarded him. Now, this is strange. This is strange because these men knew that there was something special about the Christ child. And they came to worship. It was their purpose and their passion to worship. It was their ambition and aspiration to worship. It was their design and their desire to worship. These outsiders had more sense than the ones that were looking for the Messiah. But notice the text. These Gentiles came to worship. And when Herod, who was a Jew, heard about their coming, he got scared and called for an audience with them. Notice his words. He tells the wise men, go find the young child, and when you have found him, bring word back to me so I can go and worship him also. Now I'm getting ready to put a pin in this. I'm getting ready to step on somebody's toes, and I'm at the point in my life and ministry that right now I really don't care how you feel, because you got some folks that show up on Sunday morning not to engage in true worship but false worship. It's getting ready to get real tight in here. It is interesting to know because Herod had no intention on worshiping Christ. He wanted to kill Christ. And there's a difference between true worship and false worship. Real worship is when you're looking for God. False worship is when you're trying to seek a man or a woman. Real worship is when you focus on Christ. False worship is when you're looking at somebody else. Real worship is when you're sincere. False worship is when you wear your mask. Real worship is when you're bringing something. False worship is when you're always looking for a handout. Real worship is when you know God is the reason for your being and you ain't got no problem thanking him. False worship is when you think you're the reason for the stuff you have. Real worship is when you don't mind bringing an offering. False worship is when you're always complaining about the offering. Real worship is when you don't have it, your power problem, giving God praise. False worship is when you critique other folks' praise. Real worship is when you don't mind telling God thank you. False worship is when you can't even say thank you. I'm just trying to do a check in the house today and see, do I have more real worshipers than false worshipers? Because when you really worship, you're at the point in your life, you don't care what the person beside you got to say, what they're going to do, because you understand they are not the reason for your living, movement, and being, and you come to the conclusion, I will thank him and worship him, and if you get mad with me, get over it, because you're not the reason I'm here today. parliamentary procedure. When there's a vote taken and you're not sure about the voice vote, there is a call for the division of the House. The division of the House means that you no longer engage in a voice vote, but either you got to stand and be counted. I'm getting ready to call for a division of the House, because I'm trying to figure out, do I have some folks that are here to worship with a purpose, or are you here to fake the funk out of social obligation? All right? It seems like there's a great majority. Let's have